Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a bombshell report from the data company ATTOM that spills the tea on where the U.S. housing market is, well, at its absolute wildest. Basically, the data wizards over there have pointed this giant flashing arrow at some very specific parts of the country. And this quote from the report really kicks things off, which, let's be honest, is the most polite way of saying prices were high enough to make your eyeballs pop out of your head. But here's the thing. It's not just about the sticker shock. It's about risk. And yeah, the big headline from their analysis is pretty clear. This risk isn't just sprinkled around evenly across the country. Nope, it's all jammed into a few sunny, humid states, basically making the American South the problem child of real estate at the moment. So let's break that down a bit. Check this out. Of the top 50 most vulnerable counties in the entire country, California is just the undisputed champion. It's got a whopping 14 of them. Florida's not too far behind with 7. And then you've got New Jersey and Louisiana making a pretty strong let's be real, a slightly worrying showing too. So how did the number crunchers at ATTM actually figure this out? Like, what's in this secret sauce they're using to calculate risk? Let's pull back the curtain on their official uh-oh meter and see exactly what makes a housing market so shaky. Okay, so when Adam says risk, what are they really talking about? It's not just, oh wow, that house is expensive. Nope. It's more like a cocktail of several really stressful economic factors, all mixed together to give you a snapshot of a market's stability, or, its instability. So Adam's formula really zeroes in on 4 key things to figure out how wobbly a local market is. They're looking at affordability, how much of your paycheck vanishes just to own a home. Then there's the number of underwater mortgages. That's where you owe more than the house is even worth. Ouch. They also factor in foreclosure rates and, finally, the local unemployment numbers. All right, let's tackle that first one, affordability. And wow, this number really gets to the heart of the crisis. Get this, in almost 1/5 of all U.S. counties, the big costs of owning a home, we're talking mortgage, property taxes, insurance, the whole shebang, would gobble up at least half of what the average local household makes. Just let that sink in for a second, half your income. All right, so keeping that formula in mind, who are the top contenders in what one article called the housing Hunger Games? I love that. Let's actually name names and see which counties are feeling the heat the most. And here we go, the top 5 overachievers in the risk department. Charlotte County, Florida is sitting at number 1. It's followed by a whole trio of counties from California, and then Cumberland County, New Jersey rounds out the top 5. So what's the common thread here? Well, they've all got high unemployment and high foreclosure rates, which basically screams financial strain for the people living there. Okay, but a top 5 list is one thing. Seeing what these risk factors actually look like on the ground, that's where things get really jaw-dropping. This isn't just a spreadsheet, right? This is the reality for millions of people. So let's put some real hard numbers to these risk factors, starting with that affordability nightmare back in California. In Marin County, it's gorgeous but brutally expensive. The typical cost to own a home would eat up almost 120% of the average local salary. Seriously, think about that. That's your entire salary plus a little extra you don't even have just to keep a roof over your head. So that's affordability. What about being underwater on your mortgage? For that, we're going to head down to Louisiana, where, ironically, underwater can be both a financial state and an actual weather forecast. Over in Rapides Parish, a huge 17.3% of homes are seriously underwater. That means the owner owes way, way more than what the house is actually worth on the market. Okay, next up, foreclosure rates. And in Dorchester County, South Carolina, we see another really troubling sign that families are just struggling to hang on. Here, 1 out of every 355 homes had a foreclosure filing just in the second quarter of 2025. And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, unemployment. And for this one, we're heading back to California. In Imperial County, the unemployment rate is just staggering. It's at 19%. One writer joked that the main local industry there is looking for work. And yeah, when you have unemployment that high, it's a massive red flag for the housing market. So, okay, when you start piecing all these examples together, what you see is this huge geographical divide. It's not just a few risky spots here and there scattered randomly. There's a really clear pattern, a kind of regional whiplash, when you look at housing stability across the country. Yeah, the report basically paints a picture of 2 completely different Americas. You've got the South, It's like the wild sibling at the party, just totally dominating the riskiest markets list. And then you have the Northeast and parts of the Midwest. They're like the sensible cousin with a good 401k, dominating the least risky list. In fact, New York and Wisconsin had the most safe haven counties in the whole report.
And if you really want to see the difference in black and white, just look at this number. In Chittenden County, Vermont, one of the safest markets out there, the foreclosure rate was just 1 in over 37,000 homes. You compare that to 1 in 355 down in parts of the South, the contrast is it's incredible.
All right, so let's zoom out from all these individual numbers and try to see the big picture. What's the main takeaway from all this? What does it all mean for you? Well, the big picture is pretty simple. Paying for a house in 2025 is really, really hard. And it's especially tough in places that are already super expensive and economically fragile. It's like California and Florida are playing the housing game on hard mode, while other parts of the country are having a slightly less terrifying time. The market is a total roller coaster. And that really leaves us with one final thought. Based on everything we've just looked at, that mix of affordability, unemployment, foreclosures, it's worth taking a second to ask yourself, what kind of ride is my local market on? Is it a screaming hands-in-the-air roller coaster, or is it more like a quiet, stable cup of tea? This report really gives you the tools to figure that out.